Hi everyone, I'm Dina with Mills Family Gardening. We live in North Texas, Zone 8A. And in this video, we'll be talking about what can we plant by seed and transplant in June. Now we're going to talk about vegetables first. So in June, by seed, outdoors, you can plant such vegetables as southern beans. Southern beans are purple hull peas, cowpeas, black-eyed peas. They're not really peas, but they're a variety of beans. You can plant okra, you can plant squash, which is winter and summer squash. Pumpkins are winter squash. You can plant cantaloupes and also cucumbers and watermelons. Southern beans come in bush varieties and also pole varieties. Bush varieties, they're more determinate varieties. They grow to a certain height, which is not very high, and they produce a lot of pods at once and then they stop producing. Pole beans, they keep growing and keep producing throughout the season until it gets too cold for them to produce. So they actually produce more beans and more pods than bush varieties. I prefer to grow pole varieties to get a good harvest from them and bush varieties as a cover crop. If you decide to plant squash by seed, you need to keep in mind the squash vine borers are very active right now. So if you plant zucchinis or yellow squash or that bush type variety of squash, make sure to cover them with a mesh netting to protect them from squash vine borers. Or if you are going to plant vining varieties, make sure they're squash vine borer resistant. For example, Seminole pumpkin is semi-resistant to squash vine borers. In general, vining squash is more resistant because it keeps growing roots wherever the leaf nodes touch the ground. So the more it grows, the more roots it grows. Even though squash vine borers attack them at the base, there will be new roots that will be growing at each leaf node. Now you can plant all those vegetables by seed indoors if you'd like to, but it's really pointless because it's so warm outside, and even if you don't have room to plant them in the ground right now, since there are other vegetables or flowers still growing, then you can plant them in smaller containers and keep them outdoors, and they will sprout outdoors. That's what we did with our watermelons. Our potatoes are still growing, and we'll most likely harvest them in about a couple of weeks or 3 weeks. And our watermelon seeds have sprouted and they'll be growing, and by the time we harvest our potatoes, I'll plant those watermelon seedlings and they'll be way ahead in their growth. But indoors by seed, you can still plant such vegetables as tomatoes, peppers, and eggplant. With tomatoes, make sure to start them by seed indoors in early June because it's already late in the season. They need to be a pretty good size by the time you transplant them outside at the end of July or beginning of August. Also for fall tomatoes, make sure to pick smaller varieties or cherry tomatoes because we don't have a long time before the first freeze arrives. So smaller variety tomatoes will have a better chance to ripen before that freeze sets in. Now we'll talk about vegetables that we can plant outside by transplant, and those are eggplant, melons, okra, squash, winter and summer, peppers, cucumbers, and sweet potato slips. With eggplant and peppers, it's important to provide them with some shade in the afternoon because North Texas summers are really hot and the fruits of eggplant and peppers can get sunburned and damaged. To prevent that, we need to either plant them in a place that gets afternoon shade, or if they're in full sun, then it's important to provide them with a 40% shade cloth. With cucumbers, it's better if they climb up a trellis. That way they get fewer diseases. If they sprawl on the ground, they'll be more susceptible to insect damage and disease. We're planning to plant our sweet potato slips in the raised bed where we're growing Irish potatoes. We'll harvest them in a few weeks. And in the same raised bed, we'll plant our watermelon seedlings and sweet potato slips. Now let's talk about what flowers we can plant by seed outdoors. And those are sunflowers, zinnias, amaranth, celosia, and marigold. I really like French dwarf variety of marigolds. They stay short, under 1 foot. They bloom very fast and I can harvest seeds from them fast also. All these flowers reseed very easily. Every single flower that I mentioned just now have come up this year from seeds that I did not plant. The flowers that we grew last year dropped seed, and all those seeds came up on their own this year. So if you would like to have a very easy gardening approach, just let your flowers go to seed, let those flowers dry out, and then the seeds will drop on the ground. And if you do not disturb the soil next year, they will come up. Also, all these flowers can be started indoors by seed if you prefer it that way. But again, it's pointless because it's so much warmer outside that you can start all those seeds outside, if not in the ground, then in smaller containers. Now let's talk about flowers that we can transplant outdoors, and those are sunflowers, zinnias, amaranth, celosia, marigolds, coleus, cosmos, pentas, gomphrena, vincas, and begonias. Now let's talk about what garden jobs we need to do in June. Of course, first of all, we need to keep mulching our beds. Make sure to keep the mulch layer pretty thick. It will prevent weeds from sprouting and also keep the soil moist. Make sure to deadhead flowers to promote more blossoms. And also you can harvest seeds from your flowers that are already dry. For example, I'm planning on harvesting some seeds from bachelor buttons. This year I planted some colors that I did not have before, and I would like to keep those colors for future years. Also, you can replace onions, potatoes, and garlic with heat-loving vegetables and flowers like okra, peppers, eggplant, amaranth. For example, I'm going to replace our onions with cantaloupe, our garlic with a cover crop of buckwheat, and our Irish potatoes with sweet potatoes and watermelons. Also, throughout the month of June, make sure to water your plants well because it's getting too hot, and also fertilize your plants. Even though it's hot, we still need to keep fertilizing our plants to keep them strong so they would survive through summer heat in a healthy way. And that's what we plan in the month of June. It's been very mild and very cool here in May, considering that we're in North Texas. We're really hoping that June will be milder also this year. I hope your gardening is going great. We're having a really good season of gardening this year. Thank you so much for watching this video and have a great day.